I never forgave them for what they did to my mama.
Folks, I'm so dadgum proud we took on the largest industry in the world. Think about this, folks, 13 short years ago, 85 total people, but we said one day, watch out, big boys, we're gonna be number one. One day, everybody in the largest industry in the world is gonna know and fear A.L. Williams. You know what? You know what? Everybody in the largest industry in the world knows A.L. Williams is the undisputed leader. You're number one in everybody's mind.
Art Williams had a passion for helping people. He convinced us that if we were able to somehow corner that passion and direct it in the right way, that we could build a legacy of greatness for our family by helping other families.
You know, Art Williams had a way of selling hope to people that nobody else that I've ever met in my lifetime could do. You know, he just made you believe that if you paid the price, if you were willing to pay the price, that the dream was going to be worth it.
You wanted to be coached by him. You wanted him to take you to the promised land.
My dad died when I was a junior in college, and he was sold too little of the wrong kind of insurance, and my mother was devastated. But I went to family reunion 5 years later, and my cousin showed me by term invest the difference in what my dad could have had and how much better my mama could have had it. It was a very emotional moment for me, and it was like lightning striking me. It changed my life, you know, forever.
So he got mad on at the industry and decided that he was going to put them out of business.
I was a high school football coach, and I didn't know anything about insurance. I didn't know anything about investments, didn't want to know anything about insurance or investments. You know, all I wanted to know was coaching.
And Art said, I'm going to build a company like I built a football team. And he knew that the toughest people would win.
In thinking about this, the first thing we had to do is we had to find a way to attract some players. I had to have some players, you know, to play. Coaches were respected people in a community, and even though we weren't paid any money, we loved what we did, you know, and we weren't going to go out there and give that up and give up our guaranteed income and go sell something like life insurance. I didn't like sales, you know, and so, you know, I thought about this thing, and I said, you know, the best way to build this company is to create the best part-time opportunity in the world.
When I first met Art, you know, he sold me an insurance policy and he sold me a $20 a month mutual fund when I was teaching school and coaching, making $560 a month. Then he tried to recruit me, and I said, look, Art, I'll buy one of these things, but I ain't selling that crap. You know, I ain't gonna sell no dang insurance. What is my family gonna think of me, you know, and my friends will quit talking to me, you know?
It was very difficult for me at first to trust Art, because if you've been around the block and life has been rough on you and you've been beat up a few times in corporate America, it's not easy to trust somebody.
And at the end of a 2-hour recruiting interview, you know, he looked over the desk after motivating me for a couple of hours, and he pointed at me and he said, Bobby, they got people in this business making 50 and 75 and 100,000 bucks a year. He says, we can do that. 2 months later, I came to work with him full time.
From the very beginning, we were trying to right a wrong. We were trying to correct what the whole life industry had done to so many people that were in our family and people that we knew. It was personal. I mean, when Bobby went to Vietnam, we had a $15,000 whole life policy. And when he got back, I found out that we could have gotten $100,000 for less premium. And that really hit home with me. It's like, what if something had happened to him? We had a baby.
I remember when I called Art and I said, Art, I got a little challenge here. I said, my wife's pregnant. We don't want her going back to work. I got to make an extra $1,000 a month. You think I can do that? And without any hesitation, he said, Greg, that's going to be easy. I said, what do you mean it's going to be easy? I've only made $1,200 a year for 3 years. Yeah, but he said, how many appointments did you have? What if you just did 4 a month? And that would replace your wife's income that could change your family's life.
I was a division leader and I was working out of the Savannah area. And we went to a house that night, and this big burly guy came to the door and he said, "You know, I think we probably shouldn't have set this appointment because you're the company that lets housewives sell insurance." And I stuck my hand out with a big smile on my face. I said, "Yes, sir, we are. That's exactly who we are, and I'm the housewife you've been hearing about. And you really need to hear our story." I changed his whole life policy to something significantly bigger. When I delivered the policy, he said, "Guess what? I think housewives do a better job than those professionals."
Angela, to me, embodied that a wife and a mother had a place in business. And back then, women really didn't have a place in financial services.
This was really Art's idea, because he realized when he made a sale, he wanted to sit at the kitchen table with the husband and the wife. He wanted to explain to both of them what he was offering them.
There's no way the company could be where it is today without partnership. Partnership is the lifeblood of our business. It's the soul. It's that families get involved as a whole.
The thing that we realized is that we needed to be educated. We needed to have the same passion for the business. We needed to understand what our partner was doing that was in the field, recruiting and making sales. We needed to understand how difficult that was.
Back when we first got started, it was all about us against them. We had our friends and family and relatives questioning our sanity, and we had the competition anytime we came across them, which was weekly, across the kitchen table, reminding us that we had no business being in this industry because we didn't have the professional training that they had.
Everybody was out there trying to put us out of business. I'm serious, put us out of business. We had to fight legislators. We had to fight insurance commissioners.
Every article in the newspaper, the insurance industry, the Better Business Bureau, all of them thought we were on the verge of hurting the industry and ruining things.
You know, there was always term insurance out there. There were always companies that maybe sold a little term and then sold some mutual funds. But nobody had, in the masses, nobody had come into the industry and screamed at the top of their lungs like we did. That's what turned the industry around.
We had insurance companies who would write booklets about how to combat this new renegade company that was out there. And what we were doing was wrong. We were called a lot of names that I won't repeat right here, but it was a dadgum full-time fight, but we loved it.
We didn't allow the challenges to get in the way. They became detours, not deterrents.
The first time I heard Art speak, he told us we were going to do something important. He told us how big it would be, but he said, "You know, I want to let you know that the odds are against us."
He talked about how our chances of making it were so small that I hope you guys don't take out long leases because we probably won't be in business for 6 months.
That we're up against the biggest industry in the world. The odds of us succeeding are so small.
And I remember my wife looking at me like, "And this is what you want to do for the rest of your life?" And he's talking about we're probably not going to be around.
But he said, "I believe we can do it." And he said, "If we do, it's going to be big."
We had nothing but two things. We had a crusade and we had a dream. And we were attacking the largest industry, the most powerful industry in the world. They own the politicians, they own the regulators, they own the media. They took out full-page ads in papers and said, "Warning, don't do business with A.O. Williams." When we moved into Canada, and all provinces passed a law that you couldn't hire part-timers, the heart and soul, of A.O. Williams. But what the industry misunderstood was how tough those original people were.
The more people said he couldn't do it, and the more obstacles that came to him, the more determined he became. He's a fighter. He's always been a fighter. He's been a competitor. He was that from a child.
Art's mantra for so many years, he would sit and tell us, if we can make it through the next 2 years, we can make it. We've just got to make it through the next 2 years. But he kept saying that year after year after year.
And literally every meeting for about 3 or 4 years. How'd you like to have a meeting coming out like that?
Art looked us all in the eyes and said, "You've now got to make a decision." And that's when he raises his hand and says, "You want to stay in business?" I think a lot of us took that as not just from a company perspective, but from a personal perspective. Art wants us to win. He wants to win as a company, but he wants us to win as an individual.
Art needed somebody who had a job to keep us in business and get us the money. So if there's anybody that was a hero that made all this happen, this company that became a miracle, it was Bo Adams.
Bo was an absolute genius, and without Bo, this thing never would have gotten off the ground.
Bo always said, it doesn't cost anything to think big. It costs everything to think small.
Art considered Bo the mastermind. When it came to somebody you needed that would do everything necessary to get the job done, there was nobody better than Bo Adams.
He was a big guy. He had this deep southern drawl, and he'd walk in there and they thought, well, he's just some hick from Georgia. But he was the smartest man in the room.
I always referred to it as the magic of compound people. I mean, Art had the idea of building successful people, but Bo came up with the idea with building successful downline RVPs. That's really the genesis of the explosion that we had that enabled us to produce downline RVPs, and get overrides.
I kept hearing about A.L. Williams was a team, and it was a movement, and this team was gonna win a championship. And I heard Art Williams sell the vision of this company, this team being number one.
Art always had goals. He always set things in carrots out in front of us to chase. And I don't know how he came up with these things, but when he came up with the whole national championship thing in 1983, that was just, we'd never thought about that before. And we thought, man, if we could sell more insurance than the biggest insurance company in the United States, in the world probably, was Prudential. And we thought, man, we have a shot to do this.
You'll never forget my first big company event. We were in Boca Raton. It was in 1984. It was a historic time for us. We just won the national championship. All of us were so excited. And Art stood up and he said, there's a new number one, and it ain't Prue. And the place went ballistic.
It was so invigorating. It was such a, it made you just feel good to know you were doing something that hadn't been done before, that you were part of a team that was a winning team, that when they said they'd do it, they did it.
We had the truth on our side. The truth is a very powerful business partner to have on your side, and all we needed to do was have guts and determination. As long as we kept on with that, we were going to win, and we were going to keep running up the score.
We just took average, ordinary folks just like us and offered them a chance to do something special.
I didn't need anybody to explain to me what Art Williams meant by all my life I wanted to be somebody. When I heard that the first time, I was like, he's talking about me.
I think Art's very transparent. I think you see what you get, you know what you've got, and there's no mystery.
I wanted A.L. Williams to become known as the company that had more $100,000 earners than anybody in our era. We had thousands of them. And we took this thing and we went all over the country, all over Canada, all over Puerto Rico. And not only did we beat Prudential, but we beat Prudential and New York Life combined. And we destroyed the largest, most powerful, most evil industry the world has ever known.
Nobody but Art Williams could have taken us from a little peanut to the championship team.
When we made the connection with Sandy Wilde, I think we really saw a mark of permanency in the company, and that we had finally arrived to a point of acceptability.
It seems like there were so many new beginnings. In the 90s, when we became part of Citigroup, it really was a new start for us.
We had Pete Dawkins at that point when Art stepped aside. Pete and Judy did a good job of sort of stabilizing us and helping, in the partnership era. And then Joe Plumeri came in. Through Joe, we got the OSJ Leadership Program, we got PFSU, we got the F&A.
We came from a small, credible company to a very, very large company, a national company, a company that people were very, very familiar with. And it was an exciting happening. I think that we believed that we were going to get super huge, that we were really part of something very, very big, and it happened.
We had the foundation Art created, and everybody knew who Travelers was. We drove down the West Side Highway, and there'd be a big building with the red umbrella. Our rings had the red umbrella, so it added credibility. We didn't want to be part of Travelers, but we loved the credibility that Travelers added to what we did.
I think every leader that I've seen come in Primerica, it doesn't matter who they were, there was something that they added to make this company even better.
I think what it did is it added credibility, added product, and then so we had the foundation of a crusade tied into the professionalism and the credibility. And then when John and Rick took over, that's when our business really went to the next level, I believe. It kept stacking. So we've had a lot of changes and transitions with the history of the company, but I don't think it was changes from here to here. I think it was always stacked on top to make the company who we are.
John and Rick were committed to getting us our freedom and to be part of that time and era that we were going through, because there was some really difficult times in there, but there were some exciting times of, wow, we might be able to pull this off.
Without John and Rick, we probably wouldn't even be here today. John's toughness and love and desire and willingness to fight, Rick's incredible intellect, putting together the IPO at a time when there was a global meltdown, what they did was miraculous.
Rick and I knew what our job was. It wasn't our job to look out for Citi. It wasn't our job to look out for the U.S. economy. It was our job to look out for Primerica.
At one point in time, we weren't even sure that the U.S. economy was going to survive in its current form.
Rick and I were 40-something weeks in New York, and it was just a war to get the company out of Citi and to get it public.
We were going in the conference room, negotiating, nitty deal points, and sort of how do you keep focused on the nitty deal point when you're not even sure the world's going to be here tomorrow.
Citi had met with Rick and I and said, guys, look, honestly, we can't, nothing can happen right. Nobody's buying anything. No IPOs are happening. You're asking for something that's impossible.
Unfortunately, it took us several years to get out. The world was a changing world. It was and we went down one path, got quite a ways down it, had to change, go down another path, got quite a ways down it. The world changed again, and it was quite a struggle.
Because, you got to understand, at that time, Citi had actually studied, what if they just shut it down? Okay, just shut Primerica down and sell it as a runoff book of business, which a lot of insurance companies were doing at that time.
There were many points where it was unclear whether we were going to be able to succeed or not. And that was the value of having two of us together, working together to get the company out.
We were the first IPO out of one of the big banks. They thought the odds were it was going to fail, that you were not going to sell enough stock to make it happen. And the one thing I was confident of is if you put us in front of people, we were going to sell this thing. At one point, I screamed at an investment banker, put me on the road and this deal is done.
They saw the uniqueness that the company had. They saw the uniqueness in the management team, the relationship that John and I had. They understood what we did for families and that was special. And they understood that we approached those families with a sales force and a distribution system that was unique. That's what they were looking for. They wanted the unique story, and we had a unique story that they could believe in.
It was probably about the fourth or fifth day where all of a sudden their tone changed, and they knew, okay, these guys are selling this thing. And so it was great to stun a bunch of people that weren't expecting it to happen.
It was one of the most grueling times of my life, but also one of the most fun as you walked out of each meeting with it. Yeah, we got that one.
When our company went public and we were all invited to Wall Street, It was such an unbelievable moment. Here's our company banner. All our leaders are up on the balcony, hitting the gavel, and the bell's going off. And we're sitting there going, is this happening? None of us were supposed to be here. This company wasn't supposed to make it. And here we are, standing in one of the most powerful places of finance on earth, part of something like that. It was just absolutely surreal.
The morning when the stock was opening, when we were all down at the stock exchange, before the market opened, and then once the market opened, they couldn't trade our stock because it was so oversubscribed.
It took them forever to get the stock open because there were more orders coming in, and so the price kept changing. And so Rick is up trying to figure out the math of what's going on.
It was fascinating from my perspective, not just being part of the company, but just from the dynamic of watching how the bidding process worked.
And I'm looking up, and there's, the ticker going around the floor with Primerica listed today, co-CEOs John Addison, Rick Williams on the floor. And I just grabbed Rick and I said, Rick, quit looking at that and look at this. Look at what we did.
Stop focusing on what's going on and focus on the bigger picture of what's going on. Focus on that we succeeded. Enjoy this.
It was one of those moments that, if you're lucky, you get to have once in your life where you took care of everybody and you pulled it off and you won.
So being part of that first closing bell experience on Wall Street was something, but to be invited back a second time 5 years later was even more special for a number of reasons. First of all, I had heard that very rarely, if ever, a company gets invited back to do the closing bell again when they've done it once already. Second reason why it was so special was it rang in the new era of Glenn and Karen Williams as our CEO. And especially for all of us Canadians, it was a very special time because Glenn grew up with all of us in the business. To me, he epitomizes toughness and kindness. There is no doubt this company, with Glenn's leadership, isn't going to be the biggest it's ever been.
This company is everything to me in the business part of my life. And so to be honored to be able to ask to lead it and serve as the CEO was just a huge honor for me. But at the same time, to see the response of the company, of the field leadership, of the home office team, I couldn't have asked for more.
What I see in Glenn is a man of integrity, a man of wisdom way beyond his age. And I think that's what you want to look for, and ultimately in a leader, someone that's not gonna ever let you down.
He has this amazing ability to always know what the right thing to do is, and because of that, he can connect with the field.
This company has the greatest distribution system of any company anywhere in the world, and we know it. But if you didn't know it, if you didn't bet everything on our people, if you didn't bet everything on our field leadership, you could have that resource but not take advantage of it, and you wouldn't be great. We're great because of that group of leaders that built this company over the last 40 years and will build it over the next 40 years. That's why we keep them first in everything we do.
Our mission from day one has been to be able to build more financially independent families than any company in the history of North American business.
When you think about the word history, most people are thinking about the past. One of the most exciting things about our history is it's such an integral part of our present and what our future will become.
I tell people all the time that our opportunity is better today, but it's not easier, right? If we're willing to put in the same effort that the founders and the leadership in the early days of this company put in during those times, and we're willing to do that now, there's nothing in our way.
You know, there's a great quote that says, "I see far, for I stand on the shoulders of giants." And in Primerica, that is so true.
There's really no limit to Primerica.
When you look at the size of our marketplace, when you look at what's going on Main Street and how Main Street has been abandoned by other companies, the size of that market is so huge, and the demand for what we do, whether it's our financial products, whether it's term life insurance and investments for retirement and education, or whether it's the opportunity to build something that you own, that you control, that's important to your family, there's no end to the demand for that.
Everything right now, anyone who's engaged and on their game is experiencing massive success, and that's what happens when you have momentum.
We're a company that delivers. I often talk to folks about what I fell in love with originally, and everything sounds so good, and a lot of people can talk a good game, but when it comes to actually backing it up, putting their money where their mouth is, well, most folks come up short. And the thing that I fell in love with Primerica as I got started was that everything they promised me that they would deliver on, they delivered on.
There's no glass ceiling. And if you want to go on ahead and build a career, you can have a legacy. Your children and your children's grandchildren can be a part of the company that you built.
We're in the people business. So often people think we're in the financial services business and that we may sell insurance or investments, but that's not what we sell. We sell a better future. We sell a better way.
I look at our company, man, we've had some tremendous growth, and now 40 years later, our business, our organization is growing faster than it ever has before. So we're like a 40-year-old company with a brand new opportunity.
What we do for people is not something that's fashionable. These are very old line financial principles that we teach people, and they'll always be something that you and I and generations after us will need.
We have this great company that makes one of the most challenging parts of a person's life, their financial life, so much better and so stable.
The thing I'm the most proud of that we do here is the economic empowerment that we allow people to receive because of the financial literacy and teaching them better. Because most people, when they know better, they'll do better.
I really like that we all come together for that one cause, and that creates a movement, because nobody out there is fighting for people just like us. Everybody's fighting for just the rich people and the wealthy people. Nobody's moving towards helping us.
We take a stand. We fight for what's right. We help the people like us get a hold of their finances.
From the first day, what I saw was the passion, the heart behind it. What we do for families, I knew this is where I belong.
I think so many people are forced to make choices against their will to keep a job or to please a boss, and sometimes they have to make compromises that they'll look back on with regret. But that's not us, and that's not our story.
I see a future where more and more of our competitors keep leaving the marketplace. They turn their back on the small client, on the middle market, and I see that as an asset. I see Primerica continuing to absorb those clients, to get bigger and stronger, and to really become not just a household name, but the company of our entire industry.
This company is full of before and after success stories. People that come here that are broke, scared, unsure of themselves, never done anything like this before, and this environment makes you the best that you can possibly be if you're willing to let it.
I think when we found Primerica, we found a life, right? To know that what we do and the company that we're a part of, it will deliver, that there's not something better out there. There's no searching for the next best thing.
Because of what we've created, our future is the quilt of America. Our future is that we're inclusive, and that is why we are unstoppable.
Can you imagine waking up every day and knowing you can go for anything that you want to go for?
The last 40 years has been incredible. And as Art always said, I believe this is a company of destiny. The great things that we've been able to accomplish, the things that Primerica has done that are absolutely amazing, and even the challenges that we've overcome, the types of things that would have killed off a lesser company, but we've been able to grow and strive and thrive through those things. I think that's what makes us who we are 40 years later. But we're a 40-year-old company that's 7 years young. I mean, we're just 7 years as our own independent company. We're just starting. And I think the best is clearly in the future.